Let me start by saying something a little uncomfortable but very real. Some people just don't like you, not because you've done something wrong, but because of how you show up, how you speak, or even how you succeed. Now, I know this might sound harsh, but stick with me, because this talk isn't about feeding insecurity. It's about gaining self-awareness and stepping into powerful growth. Today, I'll walk you through 10 reasons why people might secretly hate you, even if they never say it out loud, and more importantly, how you can rise above it all with strength, grace, and clarity. Let's face it, hate is a strong word, but it often masks deeper feelings, insecurity, jealousy, misunderstanding, or even unhealed pain. Self-reflection is one of the most underrated superpowers a person can develop. When someone seems to dislike you, especially without any clear reason, it's easy to fall into self-blame. You start asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Why don't they like me? What's wrong with me? That spiral can quickly erode your confidence and make you second-guess your every move. But here's the truth. Not every negative emotion people have toward you is actually about you. Sometimes what people project onto you is a mirror of their own insecurities, fears, or unhealed wounds. You might remind them of someone who hurt them. You might represent something they've always wanted but haven't been able to achieve. Maybe your confidence, your ambition, or even just your happiness triggers something inside them that they haven't yet addressed. And instead of owning those feelings or working through them, it's easier for them to turn you into the villain in their story. But instead of reacting or defending yourself, the real power move is to pause and reflect, not out of guilt, but out of growth. Ask yourself a better question than what's wrong with me. Try, is this feedback I can learn from, or is this just projection I can let go of? That one shift can protect your peace and prevent you from taking on energy that doesn't belong to you. This doesn't mean you ignore all criticism or avoid responsibility. It means you develop the wisdom to tell the difference between * constructive feedback * and * emotional projection *. The first helps you grow. The second weighs you down. When you operate from self-reflection instead of self-blame, you take your power back. You stop chasing approval and start building emotional resilience. You become the kind of person who can see clearly, without taking every opinion personally, and that's what sets you apart. Confidence is often celebrated until it walks into the room and challenges people's comfort zones. What many don't realize is that confidence, especially when it's authentic and unshaken, can be incredibly intimidating to those who are still unsure of themselves. When you speak with certainty, hold your head high, or walk with purpose, you might unknowingly provoke discomfort in someone who's quietly battling self-doubt. They may not consciously realize it, but your confidence reminds them of where they feel they're lacking. It's not arrogance that people hate. It's how your sense of self exposes their insecurities. You don't even have to say a word. Just showing up unapologetically as yourself can feel threatening to someone who hasn't yet found the courage to do the same. Sometimes your success will highlight their stagnation. Your joy might contrast with their quiet sadness. Your passion may shine a light on how disconnected they feel from their own purpose. And rather than doing the internal work to grow from that contrast, it's easier for some to project hate outwardly, to roll their eyes, dismiss your wins, or talk behind your back. This is one of the hardest truths about being confident. It can be lonely. People will misread your energy, question your intentions, and accuse you of thinking you're better than everyone. But true confidence doesn't mean thinking you're better. It means knowing you're enough. And when you carry yourself with that kind of grounded self-worth, it has the power to either inspire others or irritate them, depending on where they are in their own journey. The challenge is to stay rooted, to understand that you're not responsible for shrinking just to make others comfortable. You weren't put here to play small so others could feel big. But confidence must be paired with humility and empathy. You don't have to apologize for your strength, but you also don't have to weaponize it. Let your confidence be an invitation, not an intimidation. Let it speak through quiet certainty, not loud arrogance. Let it serve as a lighthouse, not a spotlight. By holding your confidence with grace, you create space for others to rise, without feeling like you're pushing them down. And even if they still respond with judgment or resentment, you'll know that staying true to who you are is more important than being liked by those who are still learning to like themselves. Not everyone is going to understand your vibe, and that's perfectly normal. In fact, it's inevitable. You might be too loud for someone who prefers quiet, too direct for someone who dances around their words, too ambitious for someone content with staying in their comfort zone. The truth is, your personality, your energy, your sense of humor, your passion, even your silence, it can all be misunderstood or misread by someone who simply doesn't operate the same way you do. This is one of the most common yet subtle reasons people may secretly dislike you. It's not necessarily that you've done anything wrong. You may just show up in a way that's unfamiliar or even unsettling to them. Maybe you're upbeat and expressive, and they interpret that as fake or over the top. Or maybe you're more reserved and introspective, and they assume you're cold, arrogant, or unapproachable. The disconnect happens when people make judgments based on surface-level perception, rather than taking the time to understand who you truly are beneath the layers. What complicates this even more is the human tendency to fill in blanks with assumptions. When someone doesn't fully understand you, they start creating their own version of you in their mind, and it often has little to do with reality. They might think you're trying too hard when you're just being enthusiastic, or they might think you don't care when you're simply observing before engaging. This mismatch between who you are and how you're perceived can create a quiet tension, especially when the other person never communicates their misunderstanding, but instead quietly withdraws, judges, or resents you. And here's the thing, trying to constantly adapt your personality to be understood by everyone is exhausting and impossible. You weren't born to be decoded by everyone. Your energy is not a problem to solve. It's a unique expression of who you are. And yes, that uniqueness will naturally clash with some people's expectations or comfort zones. It's important to remember that being misunderstood doesn't mean you're flawed. It just means you're different. And differences are often the trigger point for hidden resentment, especially among those who feel like they need everyone to act a certain way to feel safe or validated. When you break that mold, even unintentionally, it challenges their worldview. And sometimes, instead of embracing that challenge, people resist it. They might keep their distance, speak negatively, or even label you unfairly, not because of who you are, but because of what you represent. The real growth comes when you accept that not everyone is meant to get you, and not everyone has to. When you let go of needing universal acceptance, you make room for real, aligned connections. People who love your vibe not because they fully understand it, but because they respect it. And in a world full of masks and facades, being real, even if misunderstood, is still the most powerful way to live. One of the clearest signs of personal growth is learning not to take things personally. It sounds simple, but in practice, it's one of the hardest lessons to master, especially when someone's dislike feels targeted, unjustified, or comes from someone you thought would support you. But rising above isn't about ignoring what hurts. It's about choosing your response in a way that protects your peace and power. When people express negativity toward you, whether openly or through subtle behaviors, it's natural to want to know why. You start analyzing every interaction, questioning your words, your tone, your choices. But here's the truth. Most of the time, how someone reacts to you has far more to do with them than with you. They might be dealing with stress, envy, resentment, or insecurity. You just happen to be the nearest target, a reflection of something they're wrestling with internally. Taking things personally means you're internalizing someone else's emotional baggage as if it's your own. You begin to carry what doesn't belong to you, and over time that weight becomes heavy. It makes you smaller. It forces you into overthinking and self-editing. You start silencing your voice to avoid offending. You dim your light so others aren't uncomfortable, and all of that leads to emotional exhaustion. But when you rise above, you're choosing not to react out of ego or emotion. You're choosing to respond with awareness. That doesn't mean you become cold or indifferent. It means you become clear. You recognize what's about you and what's not. You stop assigning meaning to every look, every comment, or every bit of silence. You stop overanalyzing and start observing. Someone rolls their eyes when you speak. That might be about their discomfort with confidence, not your words. Someone doesn't include you in a group event. That might be about their own insecurities, not your worth. Someone critiques you harshly. It might be how they talk to everyone even themselves. Rising above means letting those moments pass through you, without letting them stick to your identity. Emotional maturity gives you the power to pause and choose. Do I let this affect me, or do I acknowledge it, learn what I can, and let it go? That pause is where your strength lies. That's where you reclaim control over your narrative. Because when you stop taking things personally, people lose the power to shake your foundation. You become unbothered, not because you don't care, but because you care wisely. You begin to move through the world with an inner calm that can't be manipulated by external drama. It doesn't mean you'll never feel hurt or disappointment, but it does mean you'll learn how to feel those emotions without letting them define you. And when you can do that, you step into a version of yourself that doesn't chase approval or fear rejection. You walk forward with confidence, knowing that what others feel about you is often a reflection of their world, not a verdict on your worth. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in life is learning to prioritize inner peace over outer approval. So many people walk through the world in a constant state of performance, saying the right things, dressing the right way, following trends, biting their tongue, overextending themselves, all for the sake of being liked, accepted, or at least not disliked. It's a silent contract many of us sign without realizing it. If I fit into your expectations, maybe you won't reject me. But the cost of that contract is high. You begin to live a life curated for others while slowly losing touch with who you really are. Seeking external approval is a slippery slope. It might start small, changing your opinion to match the room, pretending to be interested in things you don't care about, staying quiet when something doesn't sit right with you. Over time, those tiny betrayals of self add up. You start to live for applause instead of alignment. You measure your worth by likes, compliments, and invitations instead of your own values and peace of mind. And even when you do everything right, you'll still find people who judge, exclude, or resent you, because approval is never a guarantee even when you play by all the rules. Inner peace, on the other hand, is built from the inside out. It comes from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you will or will not tolerate. It's not about being passive or emotionless. It's about being rooted. It's having a calm center that isn't easily shaken by gossip, misunderstandings, or disapproval. It's recognizing that you don't need everyone to like you in order to be whole. In fact, when you start prioritizing your peace, you'll naturally begin to repel those who are only in your life for superficial reasons. That's not loss, that's alignment. Building inner peace requires conscious choices. It means setting boundaries even when people don't understand them. It means saying no when you want to protect your energy, even if others label you selfish. It means speaking your truth kindly but firmly, even if it rocks the boat. And perhaps most importantly, it means learning to sit with discomfort, especially the discomfort of not being liked, without abandoning yourself. There will be times when choosing inner peace feels isolating, when you're the only one walking away from drama, the only one not engaging in gossip, the only one standing quietly in your truth while others look for someone to blame. But that solitude is sacred. That stillness is where your soul breathes, because in that space you're no longer trying to perform. You're simply existing as your full, honest self. And while not everyone will understand or celebrate that version of you, the ones who truly matter will. They'll feel your authenticity, your self-respect, and your grounded energy. Living for outer approval keeps you on a treadmill, constantly running but never arriving. Choosing inner peace removes you from the race entirely. It allows you to move through life intentionally, not reactively. It puts your well-being above popularity and your integrity above people pleasing. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you stop begging for seats at tables where you don't belong. You start building your own.